Celebrating 41 seasons on the air, Farm Week is a production of Mississippi State University Extension.
Today on Farm Week, as trade tensions continue, more details on the president's plan to help farmers. Is it a bailout?
Meanwhile, the pressure mounts to end the tariffs altogether. One farmer says he doesn't want a bailout, just fair prices.
Weather an issue. Heat and fire scorch the earth even while pounding rain leads to widespread flooding.
And who steps in to help when longtime farm owners retire? One family says goodbye city, hello farm life. Farm Week starts right now.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mike Russell.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for joining us today on Farm Week. Well, around the world, jaws are tight and suspicions high, and countless tariffs and the threat of more, even while possible trade deals are looming. Here at home, the president's $12 billion plan to help farmers has other sectors of the economy jealous and pushing to eliminate the tariffs altogether. Peter Tubbs has a story.
We're working right now on this right here. Had these hats. Make our farmers great again. That's what's happening. We're stopping the barriers to other countries. They send them in and take advantage of us, and we can't go the other way, and this is the way it's going to go. Make our farmers great again.
On Tuesday, the White House announced a $12 billion relief plan for American farmers who have borne the brunt of a global trade dispute sparked by President Trump. The Department of Agriculture has yet to give specific details about how payments to farmers will be calculated, but signups for aid begin in September. USDA officials also have said they will buy some surplus commodities, including beef, pork, and milk through the Agricultural Marketing Service. The White House believes the plan can move forward without congressional approval and can be implemented without delay. The initial reaction was mixed and broke across party lines. I will look closely at the president's assistance proposal, but I hope that the administration is also working to quickly resolve the tariff situation and restore the export markets our farmers, ranchers, and growers rely on.
This trade war is causing lots and lots of problems. It's not fixing problems. Bean prices are well under $8 right now, and we have lots and lots of people in my state that their cost of production is well over $8. So when they get to harvest this fall, they're looking at selling a crop for a total amount of money that's less than their costs of inputs, let alone them providing for their kids.
But most Republicans and supporters of the administration see the plan as making rural America whole for losses incurred during the current trade fight.
I did see headlines that farmers are anxious, but still confident in President Trump doing what he's doing. I don't know how long those headlines will stay that way, but the farmers do want the president to succeed, because you see other countries have very high tariffs on American exports to them, including agriculture exports. They even make illegal by WTO standards, non-tariff trade barriers that keep our products out. So farmers do want the president to succeed, because in the long term, we'll have freer trade, will be fairer trade.
Tariff arguments with the European Union have paused while negotiations between the trading blocs continue. Thursday, the White House announced that threatened tariffs on European autos would be delayed during talks on a host of trade issues. In return, the EU has pledged to buy more American soybeans. No specific purchase amount has been released. In 2017, sales of soybeans to the EU hit $1.6 billion, while purchases by China topped $12 billion. China has already canceled orders from U.S. ports in the wake of White House tariffs. From Market to Market, I'm Peter Tubbs.
There is no question that farmers, many of whom support the president's attempt to give them a level playing field, are on edge. One group, a nonprofit bipartisan lobbying coalition, is putting pressure on the president to end the tariffs and shore up the marketplace. It recently put this spot on the air.
Farmers, factory workers, and rural communities are feeling the pain from President Trump's trade war. But one of Trump's top trade advisors says
the amount of trade that we're affecting with the tariffs is a rounding error.
America's farmers and factory workers are not a rounding error. They depend on free trade. Tariffs put their jobs at risk. Maybe it doesn't matter in Washington, but this trade war is hurting our rural communities. President Trump, stop the trade war.
That nonprofit is Farmers for Free Trade. I spoke to a representative who told me that the mantra of the coalition is trade, not aid. He says the group produced the commercial because of what he called economic pain caused by the tariffs. He says farmers would rather be working, not getting help from an aid package.
We at Farmers for Free Trade focus on ag, but there are so many spillover impacts from these tariffs impact on agriculture. It hurts everybody from truck drivers to grain elevator operators to the Main Street businesses in those rural communities. And so our goal is to ensure that there aren't tensions between them. Instead, there's one unified voice in opposing the tariffs.
It didn't take long after the president announced that $12 billion aid package for the late-night talk shows to rise up in opinion. Stephen Colbert tweeted against the aid plan, and thousands echoed that farmers were getting rich. One farmer, though, pushed back. Thad Evans, a sixth-generation farm owner in north-central Iowa, whose family has owned his farm since 1872, wrote in part, "Government assistance does not replace good markets. It's barely enough to keep us afloat. This bailout package won't come close to replacing what we lost when the market is dropped due to the trade war." We spoke to Evans, who said he doesn't want government assistance, just a fair price for his product.
What the average city person doesn't realize is the risk that's involved in agriculture right now. The cost of putting in a crop is so great at this moment. You know, our profit margins are very, very small each year, and the risk is very, very large. So I guess what the message that I'd like to get out is that we're not out here trying to take advantage of the consumer. We're not trying to get rich. You know, I'm not looking to put $1 million in my pocket every year. What I want is fair trade and a fair price for what I produce that's above what my cost of production is. You know, I essentially just want to make sure that I can farm next year and continue to feed my family.
As if trade issues weren't enough, the weather seems to be conspiring against just about everyone. Yosemite National Park was closed as wildfires swept through the region, crews battling in the air and on the ground. In Northern California's Shasta County, at least 1,500 acres burned. Some evacuations were ordered. Further north in Oregon, flames engulfed more than 70 square miles east of Portland. Meanwhile, in much of the eastern U.S., heavy rains led to widespread flooding. More than 8 inches fell in Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia.
How'd you like to have your own private gardening consultant? Well, we can get you close. In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Gary Bachman talks about his plunge into social media. The whole idea is to give you unprecedented access to gardening advice. Here's Gary.
Did you know that now you can have Southern Gardening with you wherever you go? We've taken the plunge into social media and share gardening information on many of the popular apps and websites. Last year, we introduced our Southern Gardening Facebook page. This has been a popular way to share our latest articles and answer questions directly from you. But following our other social media apps gives you more information on a daily basis from me. You have access to behind-the-scenes pictures and videos, even a few selected bloopers that don't make it into one of the TV segments. Social media allows us to have two-way communication. The gardening community has never had access like this before. Imagine all this for free from a trusted landscape and garden source. Why Google when you have me? Our newest social media venture is the Facebook Live event, Fridays with Southern Gardening. Every Friday at 10 a.m., I answer questions sent in and share my thoughts on making your garden and landscape more enjoyable. On Twitter, contact me at SoGardening. On Instagram, follow us at Southern Gardening, or just plain old email at southerngardening@msstate.edu. You can always access many of the TV, radio, and newspaper columns at the MSU Extension website. Here you can view the archives and enjoy almost everything Southern Gardening going back to the very beginning in 1996. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and now through social media, you can see me everywhere on Southern Gardening.
Social media, it's called social for a reason. Get your gardening tips every day if you like. Time now for the markets with Leighton Spann.
Well, Mike, in a moment we find out what was impressive to one area ag economist about the recent cattle on feed report. Also ahead in the markets this week, the recent cattle on feed report, a somewhat bleak picture was painted for the U.S. hog industry also. Pond-bank catfish prices fall below $1 compared to a year ago, while growing stocks of grain keep the pressure on farm gate row crop prices. The USDA says the nation's feedlots are efficiently working through a larger inventory of cattle here in midsummer. Extension's Josh Maples also found something interesting and unusual in those latest placement numbers.
We actually saw lower placements in Texas and Nebraska, but the driver is the increased placements in places like Kansas and Iowa and most of the western states. So those states are seeing larger placements numbers and offsetting those lower placements in Texas and Nebraska.
Now, marketings of fed cattle, we come to that 1%, up 1% again in this report. Did the trade seem to think that was sufficient given the overall inventory?
Yeah, I continue to be impressed by marketings. And even though we know we have those larger inventories, we're continuing to work through those larger supplies of cattle. And we're doing it at pretty impressive rates given the amount of cattle that we have. And that's just a testament to our domestic beef demand and also our export market. You know, those two pieces, our demand pieces, are really continuing to help us have healthy marketing rates. Those are going to be really important as we approach Labor Day.
Meanwhile, traders imply that hard times are right around the corner for American pork producers. Tariffs mean too few foreign buyers and plenty of meat here for Labor Day and beyond. The large pork supplies may push farm gate prices down as low as $10 per head below the cost of farmer production cost.
We're going to have a lot of pork to basically digest domestically, because we're going to lose a fair amount of exports. We know we're losing exports to China with a 60% tariff there. We know we're going to be losing exports to Mexico. If we're not now, we will be doing it at some point. So we're going to have a lot of pork. But I don't know. I really do believe that the American consumer has a taste for beef. I don't think we're going to see a sharp drop in our beef demand, but it could cut into it a little bit, and that is a concern.
U.S. farm-raised catfish sales are up, but pond-bank prices, they're not. Checking out the monthly snapshot of the industry, prices paid to producers for premium-size live catfish are now below $1 a pound compared to 1 year ago. Farm sales totaled almost 30 million pounds round weight, an increase of 1% from this same time in 2017. Processor sales cleared 13 million pounds in June, a dip of 3.3%. Well, let's break for trivia before we go any further. We have a horse-related question for this week's quiz. Here it is. How does Mississippi rank nationally in terms of the number of barrel racers that live in the state? Is the answer A, 1, B, 2, C, 3, or D, 4? We'll have that answer coming up shortly.
We'll take a bit of a break, but stay close. Coming up on our Farm Week feature, the average age of a U.S. farmer is 68. Many of those who've spent a lifetime working the land are retiring without anybody in place to fill the void. On a rolling Kansas spread, one family is bucking that trend, trading in a comfortable urban life for a livelihood that promises hard work, long days, and a chance to grow a life steeped in tradition. That's coming up on Farm Week.
Every day, real people are solving problems, learning skills, and achieving goals through Extension education. We care about their success and yours. Extending knowledge, changing lives. The MSU Extension Service.
Before we get to the market report, let's take a look at the Farmweek calendar. On Tuesday, August 21st, the 2018 Turfgrass Field Day and Expo at the Foyle facility at MSU in Starkville. You'll learn about turf breeding, sod production, cultural management, and a lot more. This workshop is for turf pros, coaches, school superintendents, anyone with a stake in turf management. Online pre-reg is $40. Registration the day of is $50. For more information, call Turfgrass Specialist Jay McCurdy at 662-325-2331. Next, a workshop for private well owners looking to improve their drinking water. This workshop is actually in 4 different counties. The first one on Thursday, August 30th at 6 p.m. at the Neshoba County Extension Office. A grant is funding the workshop and bacteria screenings for the first 45 people who register in each of the 4 counties. It's $25 for everyone else. To find out when you can pick up your sample bottles and collection instructions, call 662-325-1788. The results will be mailed to each owner. Now, check out this week's Farmweek Snapshot.
U.S. stocks of both corn and soybeans are increasing. Broker Nolan Cullen of Jackson says this is not a new development, but one that is putting the screws on the market, especially in this age of a trade war with tariffs.
Going into this marketing year, we had a large supply of row crops, particularly corn specifically, and also for soybeans, increasing significantly over the last several years. Obviously, the wild card has come along with tariffs, and prices are depressed now. The increase in stocks for both corn and soybeans is a negative factor. That means that the commercials have in their hands ownership of a significant amount of beans and corn. Should China divert their business to other places, or talks with Mexico about NAFTA relative to corn, should those go against us short term and have unknown consequences, I think there continues pressure in the row crop markets.
While there is no resolution in sight yet for the U.S. trade dispute with China and other countries, some market analysts are looking ahead and pondering what the soybean and other markets may do when that day finally arrives. One thing Sue Martin expects is fewer soybean acres planted in 2019.
I think we'll rally. We'll get a nice sharp rally. The thought is that you'll see less bean acres in 2019. That might help start stabilizing us. One thing we may see is that maybe we don't send as much beans out the door to China. Maybe we send soy meal. I think demand for meal is going to be very good. And of course, Argentina having an issue. And we also seen them in our export sales mix this week, where they bought corn, wheat, and beans.
We wrap things up here in the markets with our trivia answer. How does Mississippi rank nationally in terms of the number of barrel racers in the state? Well, the answer is D. Mississippi, 4th in the nation.
The trends in farming are undeniable. Farm income down, the number of farms down dramatically in recent years. It is inescapable. Original farm owners are older, far fewer people living on farms than a century ago. So, who is to take over as farmers look ahead into their sunset years? Today, a story of revival, at least for one family in Kansas. While some have left, others are returning, a conduit from the past to the future. Here's John Torpy.
Across the rural landscape of the United States, the number of people making small towns their home has been shrinking in recent years. An aging population, along with technological advances in agriculture, have contributed to the decline of the family farm as we know it. According to the USDA, the average age of a U.S. farmer is 68. Many of those who have spent a lifetime working the land are retiring without anyone in place to step up and fill the void. On a sprawling farm in central Kansas, one family is working to buck that trend, trading in a comfortable urban life for a rural one that promises hard work, long days, and a chance to grow a life steeped in long-standing traditions. Joni Embry Minders grew up outside a small rural town in central Kansas, where her family has been farming for 3 generations. After graduating high school in 1997, Joni set her sights on a life closer to the city. After earning a dental hygienist degree, she spent the better part of 2 decades working and raising 3 children with her husband Zach in Des Moines, Iowa. Visits back to the farm brought on a sense of fondness for rural life and the many lessons she learned as a child.
We both have farming backgrounds, and we have always wanted to raise our kids in the same environment that we were raised.
During trips back home, the future of the farm became a frequent conversation. Embry Minders' grandfather, John Young, is 88 years old. Her uncle Greg and father Alan are closer to retirement age, and the next generation to run the farm was nowhere in sight.
When we went back for Christmas this last year,
Yeah.
my grandpa said, it's time for somebody to come in and help, and it's got to be you.
Embry Minders is now embarking on a journey to work alongside her grandfather, her father, and her uncle. The trip home goes beyond helping the generation that came before. It's also about training the next generation that she brings with her. Embry Minders' son, Colby, has always shown a strong interest in farming. Her plan is to be the conduit for his future on the farm.
That's my happy place down there, and it's really cool because, you know, we're going to be around family that we haven't been around lately. I just kind of expect that we're gonna get this done, and we're gonna be happy down there.
That's on the guides on the sickle.
When Joni's grandfather started farming 60 years ago, the home place was a mere fraction of what it is today. The farm is now a mixed crop and livestock operation with around 150 head of cattle and roughly 3,000 acres of row crops.
I had a really burning desire to farm, but I didn't have much of a start there. The equipment back in that time, this was after World War II, was old and decrepit, and the finances were about the same way. And it was very difficult for a poor boy that didn't have any money to buy land, and the competition to rent ground, as it always is, was very intense. So it was a slow process to put it together.
That slow process would involve the help of Young's 2 sons, Alan and Greg, who have worked with their dad as partners since the operation was put into a trust just over 2 decades ago. Coming back to the farm has presented a long list of challenges. Both Joni and Zach are leaving successful careers in Des Moines, and their children are being uprooted from an established routine.
Them making that decision helped us make that decision to move forward. So, and this, like Joni said before, it's really for the kids. So if that opportunity is what they want to be able to do, which Colby, that's his main focus. So if that's what they want to do, at least that opportunity is there for them when they get older.
So what do you think them are, about 7/16?
Once on the farm, the couple faces a steep learning curve, catching up on how farming has changed in recent years.
It's definitely overwhelming. Just thinking about the fact that I have to learn to do what my grandpa does, who's been doing it for his entire life, is scary.
A little bit different. You're talking, it's been, pushing almost 17 to 18 years since I was actually working on a farm. So it's been a while. So there's a lot of things you got to remember, and sometimes it's the simplest things you got to remember you don't remember. So, but it's coming back, and it's an enjoyable process.
This life-changing journey for the Minders is grounded in values taught through a rural upbringing.
All I can do is to give them an opportunity. I can't guarantee their success, so it'll be up to them. And you have to like this business, or be crazy, one or the other. But if you like it, you're going to make that last trip to take care of livestock at night and the first one in the morning. And you're going to stay out there to harvest the crop when the lightning's flashing, and it might rain and ruin the crop that night. And all those things go with it.
The future for the young farmers involves building on that base to create a place for their children, as well as keeping the family operation alive.
There's the kids, but then there's my grandpa and that whole aspect, and that's why we're going back to, is so that we can hopefully make it continue to be everything that he built and wanted it to be.
That was John Torpy reporting. Nice to see those young kids embracing their futures so eagerly, isn't it?
It was. Happy endings are always good, or maybe we should say happy beginnings. Anyway, next week on Farm Week, we will be grinding it out in the Delta in a good way. Grits and polenta, two of the most popular dishes in the South, served every way you can imagine. Also, two of the most popular products sold by Delta Grind, a truly southern operation in Water Valley, Mississippi.
You've heard of Farm to Table. This owner is all about supporting local farmers, and that is the nitty-gritty. You'll meet Delta Grind next time on Farm Week.
And remember, if you missed a story, you can find the past episodes of Farm Week on our website, msuext.ms/farmweek.
And as always, don't forget to follow us and our video clips from the show on Facebook and Twitter as well. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.